identify some things that, from nest to wings, a wonderful foundation called From Nest to Wings. You get that? You're in the nest, you get your wings, you fly away. That's why they talk to seniors in high school and their counselors and their moms and their dads and their uncles and aunts, whomever their network that supports them, to bring great things to them. Okay, bear with me here, everybody. We're going to try to get some people into the mix with us here, and bring them to us. And Margaret, for some reason, we've got this wonderful stuff going on. I'm gonna try to get us squared away here and bring us to the eve of technology to help us out. So we'll see what happens here. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn that off. We're going to get back to Google, and we're going to join a meeting and get into the play here. And we're going to put that as a copy. Copy that. And then we're going to paste it right in there. You know, don't you love this? I'm taking you to school this morning and getting us involved, getting us launched. Sending a text to Margaret, say, try now. And see if we can bring her in. We'll go full screen again. Hopefully we'll get her showing up in the top there. Margaret is the executive director of From Nest to Wing. She is just a wonderful, tolerant, patient human being. We're starting our day today with some wonderful things. I have to take note as well. Henry said to me this morning, I walk in and he goes, hey, what's going on with your eye there? Well, I've been up. I had a very short amount of time I slept last night because I'm trying to make some really big inroads with some folks in the area of human performance and development of leadership skills and coaching. Oh my gosh, why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? Well, I'm just going to try to invite her in through an email. Let's just do that. Okay, let's get Margaret's email into the system. Don't you just love it? Don't you just love it? Getting everybody connected through the art of technology. Okay. All right, here we go. Nest to wings. Okay. All right, rock and roll. All right, and we'll see. And just since class is on here, we're telling Margaret that we have sent her a new email. Okay, and so she can join. This is really something. All right. We'll get it squared away. So now, as we're talking here, keep sharing some things with you about our show today, and knowing that our show theme today is college freshmen. Are you prepared? And how did you get prepared? What was the process you went through during your high school senior year to get yourself prepared? Well, Nest to Wings does that. Well, guess what? We have Margaret Meek here, and I'm going to go right to introducing Margaret right off the bat. Oh my gosh. Are we so... Oh, look at that. Technology is my friend. Oh my gosh. Margaret, it's...
easy, is there?
Well, no, and you know, I'm so glad you're smiling and you're tolerant of the processes. You and I both have had enough experience with technology and media to know that when the day that goes right is a day you bless and say, thank you so much.
Exactly.
And I'm going to use that as a way to break into the beginning of the show where I talk about what are we grateful for, those kind of things, and I'll get to that in just a second. But before I do that, I want to honor a friend of mine, a colleague of mine for many years in the sports psychology, sports performance world. As a young man in his 20s, he battled and survived and fought back and won a battle with cancer. And then on the 15th of this month, regretfully, cancer came back and he failed. He didn't survive. His name is Trevor Moed. And Trevor is one of the country's renowned mental conditioning coaches. He has worked with programs like Alabama football, Florida State football. He has worked with notable athletes like Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. And it took me by surprise this morning because I got a text and an email from a friend of mine who also knows Trevor. Trevor was the director of mental conditioning for IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. He started that program for them. His dad was a noted leadership speaker on leadership for many, many years. He regretfully passed away about 15, 20 years ago. I'm going to miss Trevor. And one of the things I'm grateful for is that I have this opportunity to speak about Trevor. I have the opportunity to have another moment in time and continue to be the best that I can be and share those messages with others in hope that I will motivate them. As we're going to do today with our theme about, are you ready? Are you prepared? Seniors, are you ready to go to college? And what does it take to get ready? And we're going to talk to Margaret Meek, the executive director of From Nest to Wing, a foundation located in Longmont, Colorado, doing such great works. But before I ask her to go too deep into that aspect of our subject today, Margaret, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for my health and my family and the opportunity to learn. I love learning something new every day.
Yeah. My curiosity, I think like yours, is way off the charts. I'm always asking questions about why, how come, where'd that come from. I don't always ask it directly of people, which is the knock that I get. Share with me. I can't read your mind. So I tend to go to the computer, or I tend to go do the research on my own. So as we use those thoughts about gratitude, let me share with our audience and you, Margaret, what our mindset moment was for this week. As I try to dovetail that into the show theme, the mindset moment for this week is about not giving up. You know, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for life that is less than the one you are capable of living. So said Nelson Mandela. Can you imagine those kind of words coming from a person who was put in prison in a stark, 20, or actually less than that, it was a 6 by 8 foot cell with one barred window. And yet he says things like, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for life that is less than the one you're capable of living. That just amazes me if you know anything about Nelson Mandela's history and what he...
Well, and that is just one small aspect of his life. He faced challenges in everything he did, not just because of who he was, but because of his race, his ideas, his concepts, his ability to move forward.
Yeah, and that's that. I used that quote today to dovetail into our discussion about From Nest to Wing, because it was about learning for Nelson Mandela. He was not given the opportunity to go get knowledge and education because of his country and the apartheid mindset in his country. So it seemed appropriate that his quote would launch us into our discussion today. And the first question I have for you, Margaret, is who is Margaret Meek, and why did you do this? Why did you start this?
I ask myself that question every day, literally. I do, because I have to remember it in order to get through the things that are a challenge. But I am an educator. I grew up in Kansas, and I am from a family. My father passed away when I was very young. My mother raised us. She ended up remarrying. And so my life has been colored by all of that, and my 6 siblings and 2 step siblings. And I became a person who likes to find the truth. And so I came to Nest to Wings, and I should say From Nest to Wings is literally designed to provide information to students and their families about the college search. That easy, that painless. We also want you to be successful in college and in high school. So we'll do a little bit of coloring on either side of that line. But we came to this program because in 2012, my daughter was going through her senior year in high school, and I started to recognize that everything I knew about my college search meant nothing to her. It wasn't going to work. College had changed. There was no way any of that was going to apply. So I was sitting at lunch one day with a group of friends, and we were talking about how unprepared we were to help our students. Now, I come from higher education. I spent years working in higher education, mainly in student activities, and knew the admission search process from that perspective as well. So when I talked to my friends, they who had no higher ed background, they were all going, I don't know what I'm doing. And we found that most of our high schools weren't providing the education we needed in order to be successful as parents. So as a part of a group that I was a member of, which is called PEO, and it's a group that raises money and supports women in education. Totally our whole thing is to raise money and support women in education. We thought, we could do something about this. And so we started a group as a part of that PEO chapter, and there are hundreds of them across, actually internationally. And we started doing educational sessions, bringing in counselors and financial aid people and trying to help people understand what was going on. And we did that for a few years under the umbrella of PEO, but we found that financially we were a burden on them, not because we couldn't make money, but because we did make money.
Yeah.
At least we were able to support ourselves financially, and so we needed to break away from that group. And in 2018, we became a 501c3 and are working currently to deal with all the challenges that are out there in education and in the world to help students find the information they need.
It's such a great venture to do that, but you have more than your fair share of obstacles in getting their attention. And so in leading up to the next question about adapting and adjusting as a senior in high school to what the future might bring me, and to actually, as I've said to freshmen in college going to be an athlete or a rookie in the pros, I said you gotta get away from yourself. You've got to just kind of step back and understand, how do I adapt and adjust to what's coming at me so that I get an idea of how to prepare, because it's my preparation that sets the stage for my success. And yet, as a high school senior, you go, why do I need to see the counselor again? It's just it's so boring. It's a waste of time. Do I sound like a senior? Do I sound like a high school senior?
Exactly,
okay.
Like a senior, yes.
So I'm asking you to give me some thoughts about the mindfulness, the battle of setting that mindset and managing the emotions of a high school senior. And remember, I'm doing gender, I'm not saying girls or boys are different or better or whatever. It doesn't matter. What do you say to them to get their attention to watch the videos that you guys produce?
What we try to approach is we really go about it in a couple different ways. We have moved into a mostly video format as a result of the pandemic. And so we have videos that are not long, but longer form that discuss individual topics. And then we have definition videos that are short videos, less than a minute, that give you information on the topic. What we have found is that when students reach that point where they need the information, we want to be available. So in order for anybody to be a success in anything they do, they have to accept that they need to ask questions. They have to accept that there may be information out there they don't know, which is hard for us as humans to do sometimes.
Yes.
It's to say, wait a minute, I don't know that. So what we try to do is try and say, forget everything you've learned, just go at it from what do I need to know.
Yeah.
And we provide the topics based on that. So if you need to know about how to get a recommendation, which is extremely important in getting into college, there's a video just on how to get a recommendation. Who do you talk to? How do you ask them? What do you do through the process? So all of those things get broken down so that if I'm sitting at home as a parent or a student, and I say, you know what, I don't know anything about scholarships. How do I get a scholarship? How do I fund this whole process? I can go out and find the video.
All right, we're going to delve into the topics more specifically, but I want to, before that, I want to ask you about the interactions you have with high school and collegiate counselors, whether it's the academic advice, because in college they divide it up into, you've got academic advisors, you've got, counselors about school life and all these different things. So who and why do you want to interact with those centers of influence?
I interact with a variety of admissions counselors, individuals who work in higher education in any different number of ways, and also with high school counselors, high school teachers, high school administrators, because things change. Life changes.
Yeah.
The challenges that are facing students change, the challenges that are facing colleges change, the challenges that are facing parents and families change. And if you don't keep on that edge, if you don't learn what other people are doing, if you don't see those opportunities and have those discussions, you may be putting out the best videos in the world, but are they speaking to what students need now?
So are those centers of influence referral sources? Like, for example, if I was a college or high school counselor and a student comes in and they're going, oh gosh, what do I do and where do I go and what am I going to eat and how should I dress? All those important questions. Has nothing to do with academic premise or prowess, right? Should they recommend, hey, go to the website from Nest to Wayne and watch the videos? They're organized. So is that a resource you want from them?
It's great if they can do that. What we have found with a number of the counselors that we have personal relationships with is they use the videos to set up their discussions with seniors. So most high schools require that seniors come in for an interview in the fall semester that they're applying for colleges. And they do that because they are supposed to, in most cases on the common application, write some kind of recommendation or write some kind of statement about the student. When they come in, if the student already has some of the basic information, what's the difference between the common application, the coalition application, what do I do about references, those kinds of things, they can assign those videos to their students before they walk into the door. Then when they're talking to the student, it's more personal about, okay, who do you think of as a recommender? Yeah. Instead of, here's the process, here's what you need to do, they can use these on background.
Now, you know that I deal with a lot of high-performance athletes, men and women that are, in their mind, their primary reason they're in college is to play their sport. They're an athlete student, not a student athlete.
Right.
That quickly gets changed at the more competitive and high-performance colleges. They say very quickly, you are a student athlete first. So that then flips them over on their head and they go, what do I do now? I mean, I have to go to study hall and they're going to watch me go to class? I'm like, what? So when they come in for orientation, whether it's before the recruiting process is completed for them and they've actually been scholarshiped to the school or not, the athlete, I find, is still not fully engaged with the process of getting into school. And excuse me, knowing how to be responsible for getting their textbooks and saying hello to a roommate in the dormitories or any number of things. So what is it that you say to the counselors to help them with that lack of engagement and enabling them to be more proactive in getting the attention of the, whether it's a student athlete or it's a drama student or just a high academic performer. I mean,
I think for any student who is going through this process,
Margaret, if you can still hear me, I've lost your audio. Okay, that's okay. There, we're back.
There we go.
We're back. There you go.
But what I find as students and parents is they go into the college process, whether they're athletes, they're musicians, they're students with disabilities, whatever it is, they come in with expectations.
Yeah.
This is what I know it's going to be like. And sometimes if you aren't willing to have that life impact that says, hey, this may be a little bit different, you can get trapped. I know with athletes, having a student son
Yep.
who went through college as an athlete, started college as an athlete at one school, and found that he was feeling so much pressure about the athletics that he didn't worry about the rest, and we couldn't help him understand that. And what we found was when he switched schools, he was able to put the athletics first and still become an athlete. So he did both, but it was a major situation of expectations.
Yeah.
He knew what he wanted to accomplish, and if he couldn't accomplish that, then it was on him, not, hey, I need to adjust and ask for more help.
Let me, because you're a parent of an athlete, well, you're a parent of not just one athlete, but a number of students who went to college, and you deal with the issues that come out of discussions with counselors and students going on to college. Are we doing enough in detailing out the process for kids and going to school? Because, I mean, a scholarship athlete at a major Division I college, they are already coming from a very enabled behavior set from high school. And then they're going to continue with that enabling behavior to a certain degree once they get to college. And now, I'm not going to say that we've fought successfully getting athletes mindful about the academic relevancy of their career in college. There are still some that get people to write papers for them, that go to class for them, take notes for them, and some of them are non-athletes. That happens with non-athletes as well.
I was going to say, humans are humans, yes.
Yeah, exactly, path of least resistance. But I do know that in the colleges I've worked with, we have really good processes and systems to help the students be more enabled in managing their class schedule. Actually walking to and from classes and getting to practice, or vice versa. And that's also an issue for all kids going to college. Where am I living and where are my classes in relationship to where I'm living? And getting there efficiently and effectively, managing time and all of those kind of things. I'm wondering if through your experience in delivering information that's helpful in guiding them, if you're feeling that there's systemic processes programmatically that are making it better. That we have a lot of pieces, but they're not all connected. And if we're getting better at that connection.
The best thing that I see happening right now is the realization that anybody can go to college.
No, good.
College defined as you want it. It could be community college, trade school, 4-year, whatever. That expectation that you can benefit from that is something that is fairly new. It's not necessarily communicated in the best way all the time, but at least it's out there that if you decide, hey, I want to be an HVAC repairman, getting into the school that you need to get there, the opportunities there, and high schools are now supporting that very, very strongly.
That's good to hear.
The one skill that I think we're getting better at, and we need to get even better at, and I would actually challenge parents the most on this, is in getting our students to the point where they can ask for help. They can ask a question. They can go into an office and say, hey, I can't figure this out. Or they can go into a professor and say, I heard your lecture and I'm still lost.
Yeah.
Too many times we as parents do the questioning for them, we do the answers for them, we don't put them in a position where they can be successful. Once you leave home, there's nobody else who's going to ask those questions for you, so you've got to learn how to do it.
Well, and you raise another question for me regarding those questions, because typically they're students, right? And they're walking up to a desk or a support person on campus, and they're an adult that has a real job, right? So I've discovered this child versus parent kind of thing going on with the person being asked the question by the athlete or the student. And the student is trying to emulate this responsible, adult-like behavior set, and yet they don't feel like they're getting honored and getting respected. So I'm wondering if all the topics that you share on your videos, if any of them deal with just the process of living that collegiate life and being and earning your respect as a student.
We do some of that, including a video on how to ask for help.
Yeah,
how do you talk to professors? How do you do that kind of thing? Another thing that we spend a lot of time in our videos doing is telling parents what not to do. I know that sounds so negative, and it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
It is an encouragement that you have raised your student. You've done a good job. They are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Give them the skills. Give them the support. Let them become who they are and not who you wish you would have been.
Do you remember the message our parents gave us on any issue, whether it's college or anything else? Is, well, when I did that back in the day, and I had to walk through snowdrifts, and well, that's different, right? Things are happening so quickly and changing so dramatically in such a short period of time. So what are the topics then, with all the change that happens so quickly with technology, what are the topics that are gaining the most interest from the student in the library that Nest to Wings provides?
A lot of it is just basic how-to stuff. How do I apply? Our community college trade school application processes are different. How do I do that? And so we have a lot of views on that. A lot of views on individual information, whether it's an activity or how to do. A lot on how to pay for this monolith. College is expensive. If you're on scholarship or not, it is still expensive because life is more expensive too.
So how does that topic list change in its relevancy and importance when we ask parents about your library of topics?
Generally, parents will start with the money and then move backwards to the how-tos.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, and there's actually one of the blessings of life right now is that there are a lot more first-generation students in college. Students whose parents, grandparents, they have no family history of going to college. And that is a challenge because they don't know what to expect. But at the same time, it can be a blessing because they don't have anybody saying, but when I was in school.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's kind of this double-edged approach to it. But what we're finding is that parents don't remember or didn't have the cost challenges because the cost of college has gone up so dramatically over the past 2 decades. It did not cost me $10,000 a semester to go to college. Didn't come close. We're talking a couple thousand. So for me to be able to understand the pressure my children feel as they go through college and it's costing that much money, and they know that if they fail, it feels like a bigger failure than just a couple $1,000s. That's important for me as a parent to recognize, and that's one thing that we try to communicate with our videos too is, it's just not your college. So
with that being said then, Margaret, are your videos primarily for the high school senior going to college, but is there also part of the library that addresses just college life in general for 4 years, or
one more time? Could you say that one more time?
Is there parts of your library, your video library, including topics about my life in college, not just about my transition from high school to college?
We do that, and we do a lot more of that. We also are doing a lot of personal skills that can apply to high school or college. Yeah. Like we have one stress management work video out there that actually walks you through, I think it's 7 or 8 different stress management techniques so that you can stop the video and do what works for you. We try very hard to talk about when you are in college, there are things you need to do in order to be successful. Be involved in activities. You can't just sit in your room and study. That isn't going to work if you want a job. So we talk about all that kind of thing, and obviously we have been doing this. We now have, I think it's 100 videos if you count our definitions out there. I can easily list 200 more topics we need to do.
So let's talk about the how-to then. How do I get a hold of what you do and the topics you have? How do I get that?
All of our videos are available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and the title is obviously From Nest to Wings, you will find playlists, and you can go into the playlist and figure out what's going to touch you. Is it college? Is it high school? Is it applications? Is it parents? Is it financing? Yep. And I'm not going to think of the last one right off the top of my head because that's my feeling. But you can go in and pick the videos that you want. You can also go on our website at nesttowings.org, and you can access all the videos there. We also have a couple other resources. One is a monthly newsletter that is specifically designed more for high school students in the college search process. You can sign up for that. It's free. It comes to your mailbox. We have dedicated written resources. So if you're looking for a checklist of what do I need to look for when I go to college, or if you don't understand the terminology, if you don't understand the terminology between early action and early decision, we have a glossary in there. You can just go in and look it up. So we do all of that and try as hard as we can to cover as many bases as we can.
So it seems pretty straightforward as far as how to get a hold of it. YouTube, From Nest to Wings, or from nesttowings.org on the website. Those are all fairly direct, but as I say that, I'm thinking about how I see it in front of me and I still miss it. You know, that's just, maybe it's my age, but I don't always get it clearly. Is it also possible that, especially in the Colorado area, that we can go to our high school counselors and get there? Are there any school districts in the area that you have a better than average kind of connection with, that students would know that?
Most of the counselors in St. James School District in the Longmont, Frederick, Meade area are going to know us. We also have shared information with the Thompson Valley School District and the Boulder School District, and have worked with a few of the smaller districts in the area. We try to get more counselors available, and if your counselor hasn't heard of us, please introduce them to us, or introduce us to them. There's a contact us section on our website. Send me their name, I will call them. I will spend time with them.
So when you are trying to send the message, get the message out to the counselor base, both in Colorado as well as across the country, how do you do that? Do you have people, little minions running around? What do you do to spread the word?
We try to do all that. We have a board of directors that tries to help us identify places we can go. We also have some volunteers who work with us in that. We've also tried just cold contacting some counselors and just saying, hey, we're out here, come utilize us. I have a husband and a daughter who both teach in high school, and we utilize their contacts. So it's really who we know and how we can get the word out. We have subscribers on our website. On our YouTube channel, as well as people on our website. So we consistently try to maintain contact with them. And this morning I spent a half an hour writing responses to comments on videos. So we try as hard as we can to reach out as in any way we can think of.
So Margaret, if I wanted to volunteer for helping you guys with whatever that you have as needs, first of all, how do I do that, and what are the kind of needs that you have?
We are really prepared as an organization to deal with what you would like to gain and also what you have to offer. So if you're a person who has always been interested in education, you want to get some experience writing videos or working with that kind of educational level, and hopefully someday we'll be back in person with some of our experiences. Once this pandemic passes, we'd be happy to help with that. If you've got marketing experience, if you've got fundraising experience, or if you want to learn those skills, we're happy to have volunteers in that capacity. If you work in another part of the country, I will tell you our board of directors is literally across the country. So we're happy to have people who work at other locations beyond Colorado who would be willing to speak up NIST in their area, and we can work with you on that. And all you have to do is hit the contact us part of our website, send me a note, and I will be happy to work with you and develop experiences that are good for you and also benefit NIST.
So, Margaret, there's never been a not-for-profit, regardless of their size or their footprint of influence, that doesn't need some form of funding.
Dewey.
How do I, well, I know how I do it, but where do I send my funds if I'd like to contribute to your good works in helping you guys produce those wonderful topics and library of that video content?
We would love to have any support people could provide, and you can do that very easily. If you go on our website, you'll see our Venmo and Cash App addresses, as well as there is a link to PayPal, so you could use your credit card to donate that way. And also on our website is a button that you can push that will tell you how, if you want to send a check or do anything that way, you can support us. If you're in the area of Longmont, or if you are an Amazon user, there are affinity programs you can use with King Soopers or Amazon Smile, and you can access those through our website as well. And I can promise you, we are not paid. I am not paid. The only people who are paid in our program are the ones the videographer, and I have an administrative assistant who literally gets peanuts in order to help me keep this going. And the reason that we do that is because we believe in it, and we want your funding to go to what is most important. So right now, the funding we are using is being used to translate or provide subtitles in Spanish on our new videos. We also use it to make contacts so that we get education as much as we can in joining other organizations that are on the topic so that we can keep current. We use it to produce videos. We use it to develop our written materials. So it's all used to help students and parents and guardians, family members.
So like many organizations, we have a cycle of development or activities that go on that hit our calendars. Is there a particular time of year that there's a raised level of consciousness about what you do, like producing videos? Is there a certain time of year you do that, or is there a certain time of the year? I mean, obviously it's the beginning of the school year. You hopefully want to have your planning done before the school year started. But is there a certain time that you're going to need more volunteers than another time of the year? So we can kind of give a sense of demand for you.
We really will take volunteers at any point in time. We produce videos throughout the year. Obviously with 100 videos, we produce them weekly. We post videos weekly. We post definitions weekly. And so having that level of volunteer support is important. Doing the fundraising is a year-round thing. We will be participating in Giving Tuesday in December. So if you're interested in giving as a part of a particular event, that will be a part of what we do. And other than that, we really try as hard as we can to keep our funding as general as possible so that we can adjust to what comes up. We used to be an event-based organization, and with the pandemic, we were no longer able to do that. So we've learned that flexibility of saying, okay, that may not be available to us right now. I can't get a person who specializes in writing college application essays in a room with you, so here's what we're going to do instead. And so we try to keep that flexibility there.
So what are some do you have any fundraising events coming up in the months to come?
At this point in time, we're addressing a few. My volunteers are out doing research on what will be best at this point in time. Giving Tuesday will definitely be our next big event. We will also be doing a direct mail campaign. So if you're interested in receiving a letter that tells you more about what we do and can get you into that direct contact, again, the contact us on our website is the best way to do that.
Excellent. So, excuse me, a little bit of a summary for everybody. Well, first of all, welcome. It's a Friday, and on Fridays at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, we have 360 Performance right here at KUHS Denver, streaming to you all over the world. Can you believe that? We are one of the leaders in streaming technology of great message and music all across the country. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman, Dr. Lowell Whiteman, actually. That's hard for me to say sometimes. I don't know what it is about that, but I am a Dr. Whiteman. I am a mental performance coach. I work with elite performers both in athletics and executive suites and in the entertainment field. I am very interested in topics like this today with From Nest to Wing, because it's about getting better. Like Nelson Mandela said in his quote, live your best life, basically, is what he's saying. You can't succeed by just standing still. You've got to keep moving and examining yourself. And things that From Nest to Wings does in capturing these messages on video about the matriculation process. That's a big word for education and learning. See what I did there? No, never mind. So I want to make sure you understand that in our performance pursuits here at 360 Performance, we try to give you as many insights that are foundational to being your best as possible. And one of those is the learning process, being educated. Somebody very wise told me that when you go to school, there's two things you have a choice to do. You can either get a diploma, okay, that validates, it's in writing, right? Get a diploma that says you've finished, or you can get an education. Which one are you going to choose? I was wisely advised to get an education and make sure that you spend time asking questions, you spend time thinking about those questions and the answers that you received, and then make those answers relevant to you. Now, as easy as that is to say, it's extremely difficult to put it into practice, especially as an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old trying to figure out the next steps in your life, in your world. And people like Margaret Meek, the executive director From Nest to Wings, is doing in supporting that effort. So, Margaret, in all that you do as a mom, as a professional, as a volunteer, as an educator, what have been some of the most beneficial rewards that you have gotten for yourself in that effort as the executive director of From Nest to Wings?
It's going to sound strange, but the most beneficial thing I've gotten is a kick in the seat of the pants. I'm always challenged. I'm always presented with something new, or something I didn't know, or something I should have known, or something I wish I would have known. And so I think it sounds strange, but I think the lack of comfort at times is one of the biggest rewards that I have.
Yeah, I would rephrase that the way I do with athletes. I says, are you satisfied? Are you satisfied? You know, so you are the source of your own motivation and desire. In fact, in my case, I'm the biggest source of my own error. I teach myself every day from the stuff I fail at. But expanding on that a little bit with another question is there something about being around those youthful minds, those inquisitive minds that not only challenges us, but I'm just marveled at it that there's so much of that out there. In your world, how do you make sense to keep it kind of compartmentalized so that it flows? There's so much to put out there. Do you ever run across the library's too big? There's too much to think about?
I'm one of those same people who has a list of the things I need to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be days where there are 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 100 different concepts that are provided that I'm going, hey, wait a minute, I don't understand that one. I need to learn more about it. I've gotten to the point where I have to write it down somewhere or type it into my list, whatever it is. Because if I try and track it all, I lose it, and I'm not as mindful of it. I don't prioritize it as well. So being able to go back and see it, I'm able to prioritize it and say, okay, here's a quiet afternoon. It's a Friday afternoon. I don't have anything I have to have done, but this is a chance for me to take that time and learn and get better. Then I can go back to the list and say, here's the one I need.
You know, you raise a thought for me, especially when I opened the show talking about my friend and colleague who has gone on to a different level of consciousness, about the future. So in your efforts to distribute information and knowledge about the next academic challenge and steps for these young people, what are you seeing as are they clear in what they want to do? Are they clear? Because we've got the gig mentality that's out there. You mentioned the tradesman mindset's coming back, part of that gig mentality. But there's still kids, not just kids, adults too, going to college, the more traditional routes. where do you see it growing or sustaining itself, or both, perhaps?
This is a bad week to ask me that question because I honestly don't know after all the research I've been doing this week on different things. In the last week, we've been confronted with the fact that college registration is up, but it's not up to replace what it lost last year.
Yeah.
We're finding that males are dropping out of education at an extremely frightening rate.
Yeah.
We are finding that the costs of education are holding back students who deserve an education. So right now I'm a little bit skeptical about exactly where the future is. What I do believe is that there are going to be more adaptions in college, both actually at every level, high school and college, however you define college. They're going to have to make some concessions in cost. They're going to have to make some concessions in accessibility. Some of that you see through online. You're going to see even more online education being provided. Currently have a child who is paying $10,000 for a completely online education because nobody is teaching his classes in person.
Yeah.
So that kind of flexibility is going to have to be important. More than anything, I think I'm seeing that the students who know what they want are successful, which has always been true. But it seems more real this time because they're willing to fight for it. They've had to fight for more, whether that's through getting their education or getting the money or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm also seeing that there's a greater population of students who are saying, okay, maybe it's a possibility. And that's what I really want people to focus on. Simple things like filing your FAFSA. You do it in October of your senior year, and every year you're in college, it can gain you money. Yeah. And yet it's not something that is always as supportive as it could be. In Colorado, it's not a requirement. In Georgia, you have to file a FAFSA to graduate from high school. So little things like that are starting to change, but more than anything, I think I'm seeing that there is going to be a huge change in how education past high school happens in the next decade.
So is one of those changes the slice about trades? About becoming an EMT, a firefighter, a nurse practitioner, and those are, some people would think, well, a nurse practitioner, that's a college. Well, it's not really. I mean, you could get a nurse practitioner's designation or anesthesiologist support person or a lab tech in less than 2 years. And depending on how fast you want to get after, it could be less than that. But are we seeing growth in that area?
To some degree. And what we're finding actually is that now community colleges are going into that area of trade education because they were not attracting as many students. I would have thought coming out of the pandemic that community colleges would have boomed. They didn't. They actually lost as much, if not more, than four-year schools. So I think what you're seeing in the whole trade concept is a greater recognition of the value. That it's not just, oh, they're just a plumber or they're just a hairdresser. We all start to recognize, you know what, we can't do that. We don't have the skills, and we don't want somebody who isn't trained. Yeah. And so I think there is more for that. I think there's also more going into apprenticeships and certificates, so that you actually work with somebody who does that work in the field and get trained.
Are you seeing the influence of technology as something we need to really continue to focus on, but also catch up? Like, for example, in the community college scene, they are starting to, as you said, build more curriculum to, let's say, pipe fitter or electrician or those kind of things. But when we add technology to that training, now we've got eco-friendly switches. And we have thermostats that are, they in themselves are a computer all by themselves on the wall. So me as a consumer, I need to have somebody who's technically competent to tell me how to program my thermostat. So that I'm wondering if that growth in the technology being applied to the consumables is being reflected in the training at the community college. Because I don't know that they adjusted and adapted quickly enough to add the tech to it.
I don't know that they're as quick as I would have wanted them to be, but I do know they're getting there. Automotive courses anymore are not just about the traditional engine. I also have found that high schools are doing a much better job of adjusting to that education. There are a lot more high schools or high school districts, school districts, that are providing more education in how to work in those fields. And that's kind of nice because it's going to challenge the colleges and kick them into gear on getting, hey, here's the next level of education prepared.
Yeah, I don't want to beat this up too badly, but a conversation I had earlier in the week with a colleague of mine who has a elementary school aged daughter, a daughter who's 11 years old, will soon get, into junior high, a high performer. Her daughter is a very, very skilled and elite gymnast at a young age, but she's also very academic minded. So her mom, every Tuesday before school, they go through vocabulary words. And she read some of the vocabulary words to me, and I go, holy, what? What word, I didn't get those words until I was in college. Now the same thing can be said for mathematics, when did you get algebra? Well, I got algebra when I was a freshman. Well, now they're giving algebra and algebra 2 and trigonometry to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I know that because I was a math teacher. I was the impetus behind pushing the curriculum a little harder. So we are inheriting our good works of doing good works. The kids are getting smarter because we've pushed the envelope. And yet, our systems aren't necessarily prepared to receive them and allow them to blossom. Are you seeing that happen as well in the requests and the interest in the topics that you produce, so that you're saying, oh my God, we got to learn, we got to find out about what these kids want to know?
Constantly being pushed, and the requests that I get on, especially in response to videos, well, what about?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, golly, I hadn't even thought about that one, got to get on that. But yeah, there is a lot more that people know they know, and a lot more that people know they don't know, if that makes any sense. And they're the ones who are going to be successful in this life, in that they can provide for their family, they can provide for themselves, they are always looking for that opportunity for more challenges, are going to be the people who are willing to push that envelope and ask those questions.
Now, before we close for the day, I want to ask you a question about that research you've been doing about, the concern about men not enrolling in college, and yet enrollment is up, and it hasn't covered the gap of what happened with the COVID stuff influencing registrations. But I want to know your opinions from that research about ethnicity. Do we have any ethnic groups that are growing versus are going down? Or, because I want to make sure that all populations are well represented, that the road to registration is not encumbered in any way, that they're not feeling the things that and I didn't hear, because I'm a white kid, I'm this white privileged brat. When I was in high school, they didn't talk to me about, you know what, you're not college material. You shouldn't really think about college. Now I'm hoping that doesn't happen anymore, but it did in the late 60s and early 70s in neighborhoods all over the country. So I'm wondering, in your research, if you saw that there were any really great looking increases in those populations that were reduced or not rising, or are we just stable, kind of stabilized? Give me your thoughts on the ethnic side of things.
Generally, we are finding in all ethnicities, college attendance is going up. It isn't growing as fast in some as others, and a lot of that, to be honest, is either related to financing or is related to belief in access. Do they believe that they're prepared for it?
Yeah.
I think there is this image that there is this perfect college student, and if you do all of these things in high school, and if you're able to demonstrate this, you are going to be the perfect college student. What we know is that isn't necessarily true.
Gotcha.
That it's the curiosity that's going to get you through college. It is the willingness to do the work that is going to get you through college. It is the willingness to ask for help and to find support, to find your amen corners, as we used to call it.
Yep.
That's what's going to get you through college, no matter who you are or what your background is.
Well, I'm glad to hear there's a more than just a casual amount of optimism across the ethnic strata. of things, the rainbow, if you will, of our cultures. Um, and as I say that, I want to be mindful of what we're doing today here on a Friday, every Friday at 11 o'clock. We stream from KUHS 360 Performance along with all the wonderful music and messages that are produced here. I'm so grateful to have Margaret Meek with me, the Executive Director of From Nest to Wings. They produce video messages about what you need to know to be the best in producing results in college or your matriculation in any shape or form, advancing beyond high school as a student. And I'm a student. I'm crazy about learning stuff, and so I'll always be a student. But at whatever age you might find yourself inquiring about knowledge, go check it out at fromnesttowings.org or on their YouTube channel, Nest to Wings. And or you can just Google Margaret Meek. Just Google that, and you'll find it out there.
I don't think there's anything too scary out there.
No, I've looked, and I wasn't scared at all. But as I say that, I want to remind everybody what's coming up for next week with us. We're going to be in wonderful Nashville, Tennessee next week. So we'll be broadcasting from Nashville, Tennessee on Friday of next week. And then after that, be looking forward to Tracy McCubbins revisiting us. She's the Lady of Clutter. She's the magician that should come into your house if you feel that you're overwhelmed with cluttering. Or if you've gone to the extreme and you've hoarded your way into only a small space in your garage that you can call your own. Tracy could come in and help you overcome those pressures and find the relevancy and all those tchotchkes that have found their ways onto the shelves or drawers in your house. So that's Tracy. Look forward to Tracy McCubbins coming with us, a best-selling author as well. We're also going to be talking about, gosh, there's so much stuff going on in athletics at all levels. It's just really interesting and exciting. The fact that we can have butts in stands and the fans in the stands reveling at their favorite team's successes or disappointed in their failures. I know the New York Giants were not exactly thrilled with the Washington team. What are they calling themselves now? They're not Indians anymore. They're Washington
football team. The Washington
football team. That's just so exciting. As I say that sarcastically. I don't know. I'm a creature of my youth. It was the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, all of these great battles with each other. We're going to talk. So we're going to talk about. We're into the second full week of NFL play. We're into the third week of the NCAA scene. It's going to be some wonderful stuff. But as I say that, I want to remind people about watching the non-major sports. There's some really great stuff going on. A shout out to my friend Jen Fisher at CSU, the softball coach up there, the women's softball coach. She is doing such great things up there, and that's in full swing. They're into their fall season, doing some wonderful things. And then volleyball. I mean, do you understand how stout this state is at both the high school and collegiate levels in women's volleyball? It's just, I'm so proud of my time working with the Niwot women's volleyball team. Dacia Ago, Coach Ago up there, she has got such a great program. I was honored to be working with them when they went to the finals of the 4A women's volleyball program. Regretfully, they came in second, but as I have shared this story many, many times, the seniors who went on to college and they got scholarships at the college level and have done wonderful things, are in college now. They, in our postseason discussions, to a woman, they admitted they didn't believe they could go that far. And I said, you know what, in a strange sort of way, because you had that belief, you did. Because it didn't burden you with this shroud of, oh my God, we've got to go to state, because that's our expectation. You just played the game. You just honored it and played the game. But it just surprised me because we had talks every single week about who are you, what can you be, why are you here, what do you want to strive for, And I guess that could have been applied to almost anything in their lives, but Just a wonderful group of young women and coaches that I had the opportunity to work with when they went to the 4A finals a few years ago. So that we've got a lot of wonderful things going on in the state of Colorado, but be mindful of what our world is going through. Please, please, please get vaccinated. And if you are or not, wear a mask. Still practice the things that represent good health and protection of yourself, your family, and others. And don't get embroiled in the discussions of, do we get a booster or not? Is the booster here yet? Who cares right now? If it shows up, it should show up for the right reasons, and trust that the science is going to validate it for you. We're getting better at that messaging, so hang on with it. So Margaret, in closing the show for today, what is it you want our audience to take away from today's discussion?
I want them to take away the idea that there's a large wealth of people out there who want to help you with where you want to go with your life. And From Nest to Wings is a big component of that when it comes to the high school through college process. We're here to help you. If there's a topic you want, let us know, and we will work on it. But there are people who want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that, feel comfort in that, and move forward with that.
Great message. I want to make sure I emphasize not only what